Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to I guess you could say a post-emergency podcast episode. Obviously, New Year's Day, we were with our families and our loved ones, and I was barely coming back to the States,
Lorenz is out the country.
out the country. But hey, Happy New Year to each and every one of our audience members. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day, especially on a Friday, January 2nd, 2026. Angel, 2025 just went like that on the snap of a finger.
Okay.
Now 2026 is already here, and title of this episode, Astro start strong with a pitcher I don't think anybody had seen coming for the Astros to be signing in Tatsuya Imai.
Imai, yeah. Imai, sorry. Imai.
Imai, yes.
Yeah.
We're getting into that part too. But yeah, what your thoughts and all that good stuff.
I'd say we've said it once the season over, it's going to be a busy off season for the Astros, especially after losing Framber Valdez, which I'm not saying is out the picture yet, but, it's likely. There's a 29 other teams that are out for Framber Valdez as well. But when we talked about the needs that they have, and starting pitching was number one on that list of things they need to reinforcements they need. So a good start. I think the Astros are not done. That's for sure. I think they're going to try to get some more pitching relief. It's in a relief kind or starting kind, but I think a really good signing. And I agree with you. I think there was hints on like maybe they could jump on this market, but I didn't see it coming. But a good move for the Astros. I guess we can explain that a little bit more later in the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, Chandler Rome had his podcast earlier. He said he was like just shocked about it, like he didn't even know nothing about it. I think Brian McTaggart at the time, because he had a New Year's tweet. He was at Groon Hall, which is a famous dance hall in Texas, if you've been there. But yeah, well, we're talking a little bit. We got our agenda on the side right there. Astro start 2026 with a bang. Tatsuya is a Astro starting rotation, because now this rotation, I mean, there's numerous guys you can go through this list. You could probably build 2 or 3 6-man rotations with the Astros pitching department as of right now. Future of Japanese players in Houston, especially with this signing, there's going to be a lot to look into with this. And then what's next for Houston? I mean, they already got another starter. Is Houston going to maybe look into gaining another starter, which in my opinion at the moment, I highly doubt it. Pivot their way to getting some backup catching as a secondary behind Yarner Diaz, really pitching like Angel had mentioned. There's a lot of things that Houston has to do, because like I had mentioned in our last episode before 2025, that infield, it's still a little clogged up. A lot of pieces right there. So I'm not sure what Houston's going to be looking to do, but hey, we're going to kind of get with that with what's next. But before we get started, Angel, let everybody know with our new audience or existing audience members where they can find us, where they can locate us, and where they can hear us.
Absolutely. You can find us on X, TikTok, Twitter. I say the same thing. Instagram, YouTube, that's at Full Steam Ahead. Instagram is at FSA Full Steam Ahead. I'm a little rusty.
Yes.
I haven't recorded in a while, but also you can find us on wherever you get your podcast. That's Apple or Spotify. But Lorenzo, what were you? I know you were out the country, but what were you doing exactly when you heard the news that the Astros had signed Tatsuya Imai? What were you doing that day?
Tatsuya Imai. I mean, we got to drop an air horn. I think this one deserves like 3. We're getting 4. Okay, we're getting too antsy over here. Yeah, it was a little shocking seeing that my phone lit up when the notification came in that the Astros were in agreement with Tatsuya Imai, and I'm like, I did not think the Astros were gonna go outside the country, and I did not think Houston was in the mix for Tatsuya. And when I got it, I was at my brother-in-law's house. We're in Mexico at the time, so we're over there eating breakfast, and this had happened, and I'm over here looking at my phone. I was like, man, this can't be no way. Next thing you know, I'm going through social from MLB on Fox, even the beat writers. So I saw it with Chandler Rome, I saw it with John Heyman, I saw it with Jet Pass, and I'm like, man, this was an outstanding move for Houston, because they needed starting pitching. And what I had predicted before 2025 had in, I had said on the podcast, if Houston doesn't sign anybody, like any starting pitcher, before January, then the Astros are not going to get another starting pitcher, and they're just going to go into trade pieces or relief help or getting a backup catcher. And for it to happen on January 1st, that was the shocking part for me. I mean, everybody's, cheering, like having parties, being with their family, their loved ones. Look at Dana Brown in the background and Jim Crane, the Astros front office, being able to make some moves on a day off when everybody is popping fireworks. And like I said, spreading joy and love and getting ready for the new year. But yeah, that as soon as I saw it, that's where I was at the time at Guadalajara, Mexico. What about you? Where were you at this time? I mean, because it was kind of a shock around the world for at least the city to see the Astro sign a Japanese star player.
Yeah, I was at Herman Golf Course about to tee off in the first hole when again I heard my phone buzzing. That's when I take because we're getting ready to I literally took out my driver out the bag already. Got my tees, and then all of a sudden, uh, I'd see that they signed Tatsuya Imai. I was like, oh wow! Like again, complete shocked as well because I didn't think that was a possibility for the Astros, especially with you know all the other teams that are willing to offer a lot, like the Mets, the Dodgers, and stuff like that. But I'd say this is a good move for the Astros. I think this is the Astros just got out of their comfort zone a little bit and was willing to do what it takes to get a guy that's going to make this Astros team better. And I think they're not done. I would say they're ready to get out of their comfort zone again because if you look at the Dodgers, if you look at teams like the Mets, they spend a lot of money, and I think 3 of the 4 teams that made it to the to the ALCS and LCS spend a lot of money to get there. So I think that's what the Astros are realizing is that that's what you got to do. It's a different game now. Yeah, you're gonna get your developed players, but you also need to spend money, open the wallets to have a competitive team out there, and that's I think that's in the direction the Astros might be going.
Yeah, like I said, they're getting out of their comfort zone, getting a guy like this, and they have yet to sign. If I believe, and I've looked, they've never signed any Japanese player out of the MPB. Like at least
Mm.
when they're posted and they're bidding and all that stuff. The Astros have never done that. They didn't do that with Kaz Matsui. They didn't do that with Nori Aoki. Obviously, it was a trade between the Astros and Kikuchi with the Blue Jays. So this was, like you're saying, getting out of their comfort zone, exploring a little bit more outside where the Japanese slash Asia market is at, and getting a guy like this to start it off. I mean, like you said, Angel, it's a great move for Houston because you could put him behind Hunter Brown, or you could put him right now. Number 2 is up in the air, at least I
Yeah.
would say. You can't say Christian Javier is going to be the automatic number 2 guy because he's coming back from injury. Plus, now he has a whole offseason to prepare for the next upcoming full season. So, number 2 is kind of thrown up in the air. You can
Yeah.
go with Tatsuya at number 2 if you'd like, but obviously, him and Javier like number 2, number 3 in this rotation.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that rotation later on too, because there is a lot of depth that the Astros have now with pitching.
Yeah, so I mean, the Astros are no stranger, I guess, to international signings. Like, but they spend the majority of the time in like the Latin countries, the Caribbean, like Dominican Republic, Venezuela, right? But I think this move, like you were saying, is opens up that Asian market, and I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not going to say this year, but in years to come, the Astros have someone from South Korea, all right, someone from continuing getting people from Japan, right? So just that market expands, and something we did notice is like, for example, I'm just use the Shohei Ohtani thing, is that when these Japanese players come over here, they want to see a familiar face. They want to see someone that they've played with before. So having this picture here with the Astros can open, like you said, can open up to other pitchers. It's like, oh, I play with this guy. I know this guy. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna sign here, right? So that it makes guys want to come to the Astros, especially in that Japanese league.
Yeah, because we've seen the East Coast get with Masahiro Tanaka. You got Masakata Yoshida over there in Boston. And when we look at the West Coast, I mean, the Dodgers have 3 guys with Yamamoto, Otani, and then getting Sasaki. Senga
Yeah.
is in the Mets. And then even in the Midwest, right there in Chicago, you have Imanaga, and you got Seiya Suzuki as well. So the Astros aren't a big name when it comes to Japanese players. Like Angel said, more of the players that come to the Astros is kind of more of the Latin countries like the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Venezuela. I mean, all those guys. The Astros do a fabulous job in the international pool signings, and being able to get a guy like this can help, like Angel had mentioned, expand, explore, and maybe gain. And when these players start to post their names and hit that market of wanting to come play baseball in the United States, then that's where you see like there can be an expansion of Japanese players coming to Houston. So well, we have a whole section of that here in just a sec. Astro Craig is on with us. Hope you had a great one. New Year and really happy holidays to your loved ones. We hadn't had when he hadn't signed by New Year's Eve. I had a feeling the Astros might be on him. Imai has Imai or Angel. Can you help me again?
Imai.
Imai, correct, has said he wanted to sign with a team with no other Japanese players, and you're right on the button with that. You're literally in front of us when we're about to talk about that, especially with that Dodgers comment that he had mentioned. So let's get it going real quick. Astros shocking the baseball world, like I had mentioned. Who was the first one to break it? I thought it was Jet Passan, but it was John Heyman of the New York Post. First reporting, literally tweeting, breaking Tatsuya Imai goes to Houston. Then the number figures and the contract numbers come into play, seeing how many years, what was the figure. And Jesse Rogers of ESPN had the years on the contract. His deal was for 3 years with opt-outs every year. And Chandler Rum, of course, a well-known Astros beat writer here in Houston. The deal maxes out $63 million. Imai's AAV starts at $18 million per season and can max out at $21 million per season based on innings pitch. And those incentives right there for that to be able to max out at 63 would be depending on the innings he's pitched, 80, 90, 100 innings. But the contract as of right now is a 3-year, $54 million contract. It's the third highest AAV of any Japanese-born player. He's behind Yoshinobu Yamamoto from the Dodgers, and of course, well-known Yankees starting pitcher Masahiro Tanaka. But the Astros did make it official today, sending an email out and an announcement really to the whole world that the Astros had signed to a 3-year deal that will run through 2028. He's going to have opt-outs after the 2026 and 2027 season. The guy that was to be released off the 40-man roster, because when you sign Tatsuya, you had him and it's going over 41. They had to drop somebody, DFA, and Caleb Bort was the guy that was DFA'd to make room for Tatsuya on the roster. But 3 years, $54 million, Angel, that's an interesting contract because, of course, we've talked about Astros, at least their history of handing out players 5+ year contracts, especially for pitchers. They really don't do a lot of that. Getting out of that comfort zone really hasn't been that part of the Astros franchise so far. But 3 years potentially could go about to 63 million. I mean, overall thoughts on the contract, and you know he has opt outs as well.
It's aggressive, and I think this is, it just shows that the Astros really desperately wanted starting pitches and need starting pitching. And like I said, I don't think they're done, but just like I said earlier, I think it's just them getting a little bit out of their comfort zone and realizing the fact that if they want to field a playoff team and a World Series team, they're gonna have to do whatever it takes to secure some of these starting pitchers. And it's an aggressive move, I would say, so by Jim Crane and Dana Brown there. But I think the Astros missing the postseason was a huge wake up call that they need to make sure they secure some big name guys, and this is just a start. I wouldn't be surprised if they're still in the Ranger Suarez talks. I know the Cubs kind of opened up, are interested in that too. But I wouldn't be surprised if they sign one more starting pitcher. I don't think they're done, and now it's just we working where they're at. And we did say this as well. They got rid of a lot of dead money last year too, so they have a little open pocketbook, and it's just a start. I like the move, aggressive, and this is the things the Astros need to do if they want to compete with the Dodgers, the Padres, the Yankees, I guess you can say as well too. So all those other teams in the American League, because Seattle's spending a lot of money in the AL West, and the Astros need to do the same thing too.
Yeah, and in order to compete, and I think that just left a sour taste in everybody's mouth in the clubhouse last year, was not making the playoffs. That's something that Houston is not known for. They're always in the playoffs. They've always found their way to get in some way, somehow, literally to the last game of the season. The Astros have fought their way into the playoffs. and usually make a deep run. They always make it to the ALCS or the World Series. Obviously, in 24 was the first time they didn't make it to the ALCS since 2017. But like you were saying, making a move like this sets the tone for the Astros wanting to get back to that World Series, wanting to get and hold that commissioner's trophy for the first time since 2022. And getting a guy like this that said, like Astro Craig had mentioned, that he doesn't want to be a part of any other Japanese players, which I mean, that's his opinion, that's his comment, that's what he wants. And then not to mention to take down a team that's right now as a dynasty is the Los Angeles Dodgers. He said it himself. He wants to take them down, and bringing a guy that says that, and this fan base, especially that dislikes the Los Angeles Dodgers, I think it was just kind of a match made in heaven for Tatsuya and for him, and for this contract specifically, 3 years, 54 million. This is a Scott Boras client. Scott Boras is gonna get the best for his clients, the best for these players. And we've seen these contracts from Corbin Burns to Jordan Montgomery, at least specifically talking about the pitchers, Blake Snell. If you look at those contracts right there, they have an opt out after every season. When Blake Snell signed with the San Francisco Giants, he has that opt out. And if you want to go outside the pitching department and go into the offensive, as the players in the infield and the outfield, well, positional players, Alex Bregman's another guy. Bregman had that contract with the Red Sox, got him be like 40 something a year AAV wise to go to Boston, opts out of that contract. So that's a trend of Boras clients having that opt out after every season because he wants to see if his players could maximize the more potential that they had. If they had a really good season, they can opt out. If they didn't have a good season, the decent season, possibly opting out, but if they didn't really have a great season, then they're going to still be able to go into their next year of their contract without opting out. So it's a safety blanket for these players. But Houston, at least 3 years, and the maximum of that contract is 63, but at the moment it's 54 with the incentives and stuff like that. It's a good deal for both sides.
Yeah, and the incentives kind of like catch my attention too because he was a starter in the MPB, and I imagine he's going to be a starter for the Astros. But if you look at the innings pitch, incentives, it's 80, 90, 100, and for a starting pitcher reaching 100 innings, it's that's expected, right? 100 innings plus. So it's more like, can he stay healthy? Are they going to have a healthy pitcher? I think that just kind of gets him going to make sure he maintains his body, does what he got to do to be out there as much as possible. But I do think he does reach the incentives because I think he will be a big part of the Astros rotation.
Yeah, and the Astros, like we've mentioned, we continue to preach this whole offseason. Their biggest needs, as soon as they lost that last game of this, as soon as they played the last game of the season, I believe they won their last game of the season against the Angels, was they needed to focus on pitching because they didn't have too many pitchers to go through. They had to go get guys from the minor leagues, and credit to them, they did a fabulous job coming up when their numbers were called with Cohen Gordon, Ryan Gusto, AJ Blueball, and then getting guys like Jason Alexander from waivers did a fabulous job as well. I mean, when their numbers were called, they did their job. But Houston would like to have some type of, not necessarily veterans, but guys that have pitched at the major league level that can continue to show that they're capable of doing what they're able to do. And especially with pitchers that didn't have a good year and they're looking for a job and trying to make it prove that they're trying to get something going into the next year of them contracts. Nate Pearson's a great example, a not number one overall pick, but a first overall pick in his draft class. And, he was one of the best regarded pitching prospects coming out of the Blue Jays farm system. And it just didn't work out, gets traded to the Cubs, goes from a reliever, goes to a starter too. Well, Houston comes with the idea of giving him that opportunity to start again. And this is a year that he can prove that, hey, he still got in the tank. He can be able to pitch if you need him to go through the, on the mound as a starter or as a reliever. It's going to help him gain whatever that can happen going into the next free agency because he only did sign a 1-year contract. So like I said, it's a great move for both sides. Of course, Tatsuya with 3 years, at least with Houston, but you do have the opt-outs on every season when it comes to him pitching.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
But
let's learn more about this kid because, like I said, it was a shock around the world. I don't think a lot of Houstonians or Astros fans in general knew about this player. And 5'11", 27 years old, a guy that can pump about 95 to 99 miles per hour, which is very impressive. But in 2025 in the NPU League, Cebu Lions, sorry about that, 163 and 2/3 of innings pitched, 10-5 record, 192 ERA, a 0.89 whip, a 9.8 strikeout per 9 innings, which had 178 strikeouts in that season, 45 walks. The walk rate, that has been a very impressive of his resume. It has gone down every season since 2020. When you look back at 2020, this was the walk per 9 innings: 6.8, 5.7, 4.8, 4.1, 3.6, 2.5. So that is a very impressive thing to see. You know, he's going to make these guys put the ball in play. And not to mention, too, this is a guy that doesn't give up a lot of home runs either. And that's a good sign for Houston, even though I would say Daikin Park is, I would say, in my opinion, Angel, is it's a hitter friendly ballpark because of the Crawford boxes in left. Of course, in right field, I think it's, to me at least, is not a short porch, but I think it is a short porch for left-handed hitters.
Mhm.
So that's a good thing. He's going to keep the ball in play, and all that. The Arsenal mix has a lot of pitches. I thought he only had 3, but this guy has a lot of pitches. Four-seam fastball, like I had mentioned, averages about 95 to 99 miles per hour. He could get it to 100 if you need him to. His slider is his second best pitch from this Arsenal. Has a really good wicked slider, a lot of break on the ball, 46% swing and miss rate, not to mention. He has 2 changeups. He has one regular changeup. We're going to put a picture here talking about the other one. He has a splitter. That's one pitch I really love that the Astros were able to get a guy that has a split finger pitch. And of course, with Japanese players, they usually have splitters on their arsenal. But the one pitch I was going to talk about is that Vulcan changeup. And it's usually classified as a sinker, but it has a weird grip. We're going to show a picture here in just a second. A curveball as well. And I mean, we can show the picture right now. I mean, we're talking about it off air, and just look at the grips on these pitches. I mean, I was telling Angel, like when it comes to the baseball, I mean, look, the changeup doesn't even look like a changeup. I mean, he has bigger fingers than me, obviously. Look, my hand's small as hell, but you can see I can kind of, Angel, if you look at the picture, it looks like he has a circle change, if I'm not mistaken, like on the left
Yeah.
side. Yeah, so it looks like a splitter, but it's not. And you see the splitter on that side, and then the Vulcan changeup as well on the right side. Different movement, different grip, and as well, it's like Asherworth Craig said, and backward slider he has. And I think I've seen a comparison with that. And if you go through MLB.com, it has them pictures. And we have a data picture right now that we're looking and using from them. Credit to Yuri Kurosawa for this image of the changeup, splitter, and Vulcan. But they have a lot of comparisons to Luis Castillo, Paul Skeens, Trey Savage, Max Scherzer, and I can't remember the other one. But they had a lot of comparisons between Tatsuya and these guys. So different pitches, like I had mentioned. I think, to me at least, I think it's a good thing to have for pitchers so much in your arsenal. I think you had interviewed Seth Lugo, Angel. He had 10 pitches in his arsenal,
Yeah.
and it kind of makes a hitter off balance, trying to figure out what they're going to throw, what they're going to pitch. And, you know, you have to adjust as a hitter coming at from, 90 feet coming at you. What pitch is going to be coming at 90 something compared to a 70 something miles per hour off speed pitch. And with this mix that he has, I think it's just going to be very favorable in his favor.
Absolutely. It's just like my first word that comes to it, seeing all this Arsenal, the way he goes, the grips on the baseball as a technician. I think he just, tries to focus on, tries to get any advantage he can to fool the hitter, to make sure he gets outs. But I do want to talk about that walk rate. That's something the Astros definitely look at, especially, like you said, hitter-friendly park in Daikin Park. And That's the biggest thing. Being able to reduce the walk. We talked about it with Ronald Blanco, with Spencer Arrighetti. When they get in trouble is when they walk a lot of people, right? But being able to, limit those walks, it's puts him in a great position to not get in trouble, to pitch longer into games as well. So I think looking at all the analytics he has and looking at his pitch volume, his everything he has to offer, I think this was a really big move. I think the Astros had their mindset on it and went out and got the guy that they wanted, because I think this Imai and the Astros is like two pieces in the pot. I think it works out great just for both stadium wise, and they get their need in starting pitching.
Yeah, and man, I really wish I had a video, and I thought I had a video of Tatsuya, but I do not. But I mean, there's numerous videos of him pitching on Twitter, and I just love the moxie that this kid has when big punch out comes out, and you can see him yelling off the mound. And when you think of that, it's like you think of them big moment games, them big moment spotlights of being in different type of scenarios in this game, especially in the playoffs. I mean, when you get a big out, you're pumping, you're doing all of that, and
It's
there
all your
goes my
cameras off.
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It did that the last time, so apologize to everybody. But go
No,
ahead if you want to continue talking. Let me get this camera going.
no, yeah. I think we kind of hit on it. Like my next portion was about him being a fan favorite, because like Astro Craig mentioned earlier, and you mentioned earlier too, that he wanted to be in a team where no Japanese pitchers were, and he wanted to actually take down his countrymen that are in the major league. So you're right, Astros perfect fit for that as well. But uh, what does it mean for the Astros for the future of the Astros Japanese players? Well, in 2008, Infield Kazmatsu was the first Japanese player in Astros history. 2017, Norioki became the second, and then the Astros in 2024 brought Yusei Kikuchi, becoming a third after being traded. Like we said earlier, Manny is the first player the Astros acquired during the postseason from the MPB, and this just comes in a perfect time too, as the Astros just made a 15-year deal, naming right deal with Daikin, the AC company that's also from Japanese. So again, that connection there could have had something to do with it, probably not, but it's something to keep an eye about. So this is just a great overall move for the Astros to get an influx of Japanese players as well, open their sights on that market as well. So I think this is overall a win-win scenario. You get an elite pitcher from Japan, and you get the potential to bring in more players from Japan in advance too. So welcome back. So we're just talking about how we kind of already talked about how he didn't want to be with any other Japanese player, wanted to actually beat them down, and now we're just talking about how this move just has the potential to bring influx of Japanese players to Houston as well, relief pitchers, infielders, right, just all around as well. So this opens up a market for Houston, and it's a good one. I think this is it. They're trending in the right direction. They're realizing that these Japanese players are making an impact. Look at what Yamamoto did with the Dodgers, coming out on 1 day rest to close out the game as well. So it's just like these guys are dogs, warriors. They take great pride in their game, and I would say that they come in here being either the or one of the strongest workers with huge work ethic and trying to get better every day. So really good move for the Astros.
Yes, it is, and I think it's going to help them in the long run. And I'm trying to remember the guy that signed with the White Sox, and that was
Yeah.
a random signing too. I think when you really look at Japanese players at the moment, they see the success happening in LA with the Dodgers, and you want to be a part of that success. But then there's some guys that don't want to, follow in the same guys over there, at least in the same team, and try to be, try to create something on their own, create an atmosphere for, for Japanese fans to come and watch them play and have their name on the back of a jersey, and then anybody else. Munetaka Murakami, that's the guy who had signed with the White Sox earlier on this past year. But yeah, I mean, I think Astro fans are gonna enjoy that, especially like I had mentioned, and like you had mentioned too, Angel, about that comment that hey, I want to take the Dodgers down. Like I'm tired of seeing them winning. And for Astro fans, that's just a hunger that they're just gonna love this kid. They're gonna open him with their arms and just feed off of that because of course Houston fans do not like the Dodgers. I mean, you can talk to numerous of them and they're going to say something about them. So this kid saying that comment live on a Japanese TV show, talking about wanting to potentially be with the Dodgers and telling them like, no, I do not want to sign with them. I want to take them down. And that comes to Houston. Like I said, it's a match made in heaven for both sides. Like even the Astro fans and for him as well. They're gonna embrace him coming in. And you saw the success with Yusei Kikuchi. Astro fans opened their arms with him too, and they loved him as soon as as he 10 wins in a row, if I'm not mistaken, Angel, in his starts. I mean, they loved Yusei, and a lot of Astro fans wanted to keep him after the season had ended because, of course, you remember that was a rental, and he was hitting free agency for 2025, and the Astros had to make a decision too if they were going to try to re-sign Yusei Kikuchi and what his party was, which is another Scott Boras agent. And Angel, I'll let you let everybody know what had happened with that. Talking about
Yeah.
Yusei Kikuchi and his and the I'll let you talk about that here in a second. But
Um,
the stuff that he did, the atmosphere that he brought to with the little Yusei chant as soon as he had a strikeout. Um, like I said, I think the Astro fans are gonna love seeing Tatsuya pitch on the mound, and they're gonna just be behind him 100%.
yeah, and like Lorenzo mentioned, Imai is a Scott Boras client, so getting the best deal was imminent for the both parties. But when we did, like I did mention, 2024, the Astros did sign Yusei Kikuchi, and they really turned around his season. I think at the trade deadline, a lot of Astros fans were like scratching their heads as to why Kikuchi was brought to the Astros when he wasn't doing so good in Toronto. Was up and down, but he really turned his game around with Houston. That's one of the biggest things that Imai saw, that Scott Boras and him talked about, that brought Houston to his attention, to his radar, and what the Astros were able to do with Yusei Kikuchi made perfect sense to Imai, and Imai wanted to be part of that culture and being part of that, training, that coaching. So this is like I said earlier, like these Japanese players come in with a huge work ethic of wanting to be successful and want to, they never stop. They train all the time, and they, like I said, they take great pride in their game. And the fact that the coaching staff, I lost the word, but the culture that the Astros bring for their pitching stance is just, it's definitely left a mark. And that, again, like I said, could open the door for more Japanese pitchers to come here as well.
And it's made Houston a destination for pitchers, I would say, because their development, their analytics, and this is going to be the first year with the Astros having not Bill Murphy on their side, and it's just going to be Josh Miller and another coach that had just got promoted. I don't have his name right in front of me at the moment, but you're going to see new voices come besides Miller. It's going to be interesting what the Astros do this coming season regarding pitchers. They brought in Nate Pearson. He's trying to become a starter again. See what they can do with him, as well as Mike Burrows. If I'm not mistaken, if I talked about in the last episode, they wanted to add another pitch to his arsenal. Same goes for David Weiss as well, coming from the Korea League. What he can do, and see, because he had a great changeup over there, can he continue utilizing it, and can it be one of his best pitches when he goes on the mound to start some games? So the way that they did and dissect these pitchers and look into their development, see what worked best, what didn't work best, what they can kind of provide of some type of knowledge and some information that can help this pitcher in the long run. That's what they've done. And you've seen the success of these pitchers go out. You saw Garrett Cole, what he did in Houston, and then wins a Cy Young finally in New York. You saw Justin Verlander winning 2 Cy Youngs in Houston. So the Astros have a great history of developing pitchers and helping their pitchers out of what they can do better and what they can do best, and be able really to get them out and be able to produce at some type of capacity and really at their own level.
Yeah.
But
And
real quick, Angel, before we do go to the next one, I wanted to say this on Imai's part, but the MPB and the MLB are 2 different leagues. In the beginning, do you see Tatsuya having trouble adjusting, getting familiar with this game and going against major league hitters because, of course, like I said, they're two different leagues, two different hitters, two different players. I mean, the list goes on. Do you think it's going to be a little adjustment time, just like how Yamamoto did, just like Kodai Senga, seeing Roki Sasaki kind of struggle, and then he had to be into a reliever role in the last bit of the season? Do you see the same thing? Maybe a trend Tatsuya maybe struggling in the beginning and then maybe getting back on track, or do you just see maybe just the fact that he's gonna just roll and just dominate?
I mean, it certainly could happen, but then you also got to remember Imagina from the Cubs came in day one and started pitching amazing. You know, not having no adjustment period there. So I mean, it could be hit or miss. If you're an Astros fan, you're hoping that it's like similar to Imagina, just coming in here, throwing strikes and do what you got to do. But the fact that he's a veteran, 27 years old, has a lot of innings in him. A good name guy. I think he can come in here and making an impact right out the gun. I think this is the fact that he trusts his coaching staff. The fact that he limits walk weights. I don't see him having any problems. And I guess a blessing that it happened in January too, so he can come in early, get do what he has to do in Houston, find a place to live, get accustomed to the time change. So he has a month and a half or maybe a little less before pitchers and catchers report to get ready, to get accustomed to America. So I think he has a great chance of just coming out of the gun and making an impact there.
I'll say this right now, Astro fans listening to the pod and just baseball fans in general. I mean, if he struggles, don't not give up on start. Him. Yeah, do not give up on the kid, because that's just not going to make anything better. That's just going to make you your stress levels are probably just going to go up. But that's the part of this game. These guys have to adjust, and he's not going to be a Shohei Ohtani that just real quick gets it off the bat and wins 4 or 5 MVPs that Ohtani already has. But that's what I'm saying. They're two different things. Like Angel said, Imanaga with the Cubs, he did a fabulous job in his starts coming into the U.S. and be able to provide some type of support and big ups for the Cubs. And then you had Roki Sasaki, struggled, I would say, mightily in the beginning, got back on track. He was even sent to the minors to get some work done. Then in the late season, they saw him as a guy that can close some games. And look who helped the Dodgers in closing some games in the playoffs. It was Roki Sasaki. So I'm pretty sure Sasaki is going to come back as a starter. But even Yamamoto kind of struggled in the beginning of this 2025 season, and then he got back on track. So like Angel said, you cannot give up on the kid if he starts doing bad starts in the first month of March and April. It's something different. Everything is new. He's getting accustomed to the States. He's getting accustomed to the city, to the fan base, to the front office, to the coaches, everything. This is everything new for a kid like that. 27 years old, coming from Japan and coming into the United States to play professional baseball in the U.S. It's a different breed compared to the MPB, the KBO, the Mexican League, the Dominican leagues. Everything's just different. So I just wanted to add that.
No, I mean, that's a great point. So I'm glad you did. But another, things to think about is this Astro rotation. And as of right now, starting pitchers for the Astros, you got Hunter Brown, Tatsuya Imai, Christian Javier, Spencer Arrighetti, Lance McCullers Jr., Mike Burrows, Jason Alexander, JP France, Nate Pearson, Ryan Wise, AJ Bluebob, Colton Gordon, and then in the midseason, you'll get Ronel Blanco and Hayden Wesneski back. So opening day rotation, what I'm predicting is Hunter Brown's your ace, that's for sure. It'll be between Christian Javier to Timai for the second or third spot. Mike Burrows 4 or 5.
Okay.
And then this is where you kind of get things
where you have fun
thinking, right? Yeah. So it's gonna be between Spencer Grady and Lance McCullers for that 5th spot. And this is why I say the Astros aren't done. And I think they need one more starting pitching. They can get Ranger Suarez, so they can get not even like a Ranger Suarez, like a Mitch Kelly type, like a 4 or 5 guy that could help you out, eat some innings. Because Lance McCullers came back from injury, but yet had to be, up and down, rough outings. I can see him turn the page, could be, right? But it's gonna, with injuries, you never know. Spencer again, freak accident, but coming back from that, he wasn't able to be the same Spencer Arrighetti he was starting off. However, a lot of promise there. I'd say JP France, we don't know what you're going to get from him. He's been here. Colin Gordon, I don't know, he had a good spot. I think he might start either in the bullpen or in AAA. AJ Blueball will probably be in AAA. Nate Pearson, again, it could be a bullpen piece, if not AAA. So just it's the same thing goes with Jason Alexander. So you're looking at 6 guys right now between Hunter Brown, Imai, Javier Arrighetti, McCullers, and Burrows. Now, on paper, that seems like a decent rotation, right? But again, baseball is a marathon. We talked about it. It's a 162 games with injuries, and Astros are no stranger to injuries these past 2 years. So I would say to be comfortable, to have a great rotation, I think the Astros do need to sign one more starting pitcher if possible, and then load up on some relief pitchers. I think their infield set, outfield's pretty much set, because so I think it's just pitching and, getting to a backup catcher is what they need as well. And they're going to start trusting Salazar a little bit more for that backup role.
Yeah, and like I agree with you on the starting pitching. It's going to be Hunter Brown. It's going to be Tatsuya Imai, Christian Javier. I'd go Mark Burrows too at 4. I think he has some electric stuff. A lot of his off-speed mix is really well, and then you add another pitch that Houston's going to probably put into his arsenal. He could be an effective pitcher, and especially the development that this pitching staff can do and help with these guys. And then Spencer, I'm going to lean towards Spencer Arrighetti in number 5. I'm going to be honest with you. I do think McCullers still has some gas in the tank to be a starting pitcher, but at the same time too, you saw the slow start in 24, and they had to play catch-up ball throughout the whole season. You need your top 5 guys going right there and then. So I would say Arrighetti.
So what do you do with McCullers? You put it on the bullpen?
You can still do a 6-man rotation. I just don't think Houston's going to lean towards that unless they're on a deep run of multiple games, like consecutively, like let's say 16, 17 games without an off day. Then they'll lean into a 6-man rotation. And that's what I'm saying. It's going to be an interesting spring training to see how everybody develops, because of course, remember too, spring training, you're going to get some injuries some way, somehow. That's how it happened last year. If I'm not mistaken, JP France had an injury. Luis Garcia had an injury. Arrighetti had shut down too for a little. So you had some injuries going into spring training. I think, to me, Arrighetti's going to come in more promising than McCullers. I'm not saying McCullers is not going to be a starting pitcher still for the Houston Astros, but for me, at least as of right now, I would say Arrighetti at 5. And if the Astros do decide to do a 6-man rotation, then you could put LMJ at 6.
How do you think McCullers would feel, though?
I don't know. That's another good question to say, because he's getting paid all them big bucks, and the Astros want to continue utilizing him. But almost I'd say every season after that injury in 2022, obviously he didn't pitch in 23. 24 was injured. 25, he was injured. And I'm not saying pitchers have to be perfect and they have to just be a workhorse and not, have no injuries. But Lance McCullers has a track history, basically what I'm trying to say, of being injured every season. And when he's really not hurt, he's a really effective pitcher on the mound. The fastball, the curveball, and the sweeper mix that he has, that combination is really good. But Arrighetti's young. He developed really well in the last part of that 24 season. 2025, like you said, Angel, he had that freak accident, shagging the outfield. Really hurt his whole season in 25. And I think he's just going to come this year with a vengeance and with an eye of saying, you know what, I'm that guy. He has that swag. He has that moxie as well to come in and say, this is my job to lose. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to fight for this rotation spot. And that's why I said I think he'd be your number 5 starter in this 2026 starting rotation as of right now.
Yeah. And again, I agree with you. I can see a big year from Arrighetti, but you need a backup plan too. What if McCullers gets hurt again? What if Arrighetti can't find his zone? Mm-hmm. Right? And the Astros saw, you just can't hope and wait to get those guys back from the injury like Ronel Blanco and Henry Wazeski, because again, you don't know what you're going to get from them. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think they need one more starting pitcher, because there's two question marks in that rotation. That's Arrighetti and McCullers. Now, I agree with you there. I agree with the fact that I would put Arrighetti over Lance McCullers. I agree. However, you're I would you could even consider Lance McCullers as a leader in that rotation too, just because of his experience, his leadership role. He's outspoken where he can, he takes accountability for himself, and he's outspoken, about other things and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because I don't think Lance McCullers wants to have a bullpen role. I mean, I don't know.
No, he even said it in spring training last year. He had mentioned that he was signed to be a starting pitcher, and that's how he wants to be. And this can come back and be the same situation from Josh Hader and Ryan Presley. They signed Josh Hader, and Ryan Presley had to go into a setup role, and Hader was your new closer. This is almost, I wouldn't say the same situation, but because Houston has so much pitching, it has so much talent as well. That's what makes this so iffy. McCullers can go two routes. If like what I had projected as the rotation, he has two routes. He accepts it, and like I said, it could be a 6-man rotation if the Astros need him, and go into that part of being a bullpen piece, or it can be like some disappointing things, and asking for a trade. When it comes to like a bigger thing, a bigger outcome for this organization.
Yeah, but I think this could also be, last season could also been like reality check as well, because for Lance McCullers, because I think last year in the offseason, he was going to be 100% healthy. He was like, I'm going to be a starter. I can see that, right? Because you're feeling good, you're confident in your abilities. But then after this season, you saw that, okay, like at my 100%, when I was healthy, there was still some iffiness, right? And still got hurt. So I think now, for the sake of his career, for the sake of, the team, I can see him being like changing his opinion and taking a step back, and just accepting any role the Astros want him. But again, I could be wrong, right? At the end of the day, we won't know until Lance McCullers speaks of about his situation, stuff like that. But I can see him maybe taking a step back and just giving in a little bit. But I don't know, it's a hit or miss with that. But again, I just think one more starting pitcher and then the Astros would be golden.
Yeah, McCullers. I mean, this isn't a podcast of us just bantering saying McCullers doesn't deserve to be in the starting rotation. I just believe that me and you, Angel, we're just saying that what's a good starting rotation for the Astros as of right now. And from last year when McCullers, he didn't pitch a lot. Same really goes for Arrighetti. Arrighetti didn't pitch a lot of games either. But if you wanted to put both these two guys together as of right now, who would you start? And I already had mentioned, I would say Arrighetti, and you even said it just right now yourself. You would start Arrighetti, and he's young, he's fresh, arm's still great, as well as the development that this kid has and the swagger that he presents. He's the same thing as McCullers. McCullers was young. You saw the swagger that he brought in 2017, that whole run with the 24 straight curveballs, big game moments, and with the Dodgers. So, I mean, and even going to Chicago White Sox in 2021. Even really that whole season, he pitched really well in 21. I just wanted to bring his contract up, though, real quick. 32 years old. This is his last year of that 2021 5-year extension he had signed with Houston. And he's going to be getting $17,700,000 in his last year of his contract.
That's a great point, because, again, I'm just trying to make sense of his situation. And honestly, if he doesn't have a good season starting pitching, it's going to be very hard for him to find a contract elsewhere, tell you the truth, just because of his injury history and his inconsistency in the rotation. So I think if he's smart, but again, I'm not Lance McCullers, he's entitled to his own decisions. If he wants to honestly play next year, I would say you prove to other teams or to the Astros that you can pitch in any situation, as a starter, as a bullpen. And if you can do that successfully, then your resources would open up a little bit. But if you're closed-minded, and you're set on a starter and then can't produce, it's going to be very hard to find a job. But if you can show that you can pitch at the bullpen, doesn't matter, eighth inning, tie game, you can come out, get 3 strikes, or start the game, pitch 3 good innings as an opener, right? and you can do successful in that. Again, open up you'll open up your variety, and teams will be looking into that a little bit more, right? So again, this is a make or break year for Lance McCullers.
Yeah, and that's going to be a contract too difficult for Houston to try to trade away. I
Yeah.
mean, of course, maybe there's a team out there that would like to take on that contract, but that's going to be difficult for the Astros to try to trade away at least 17,700,000. That's pretty steep. And but Angel, I gotta disagree with you. I think that might be it for Houston, at least starting pitcher wise, because
Okay.
there's a lot of depth in this rotation. I mean, not even rotation, just pitching in general. You got a lot of candidates that could be starting pitchers. You're going to get Ronel Blanco and Hayden Wesneski if no setback uh, come July, August. AJ Blueball is a guy I would say is a dark horse going into spring training that could potentially be in the starting rotation. Reminder too, you still got Miguel Ulola that can
Yeah.
be a
I was gonna bring
call up
that question up.
in summer as well. So I can see, and if I'm just predicting, there could possibility be a a DFA for Jason Alexander, which I think Alexander did a fabulous job in Houston last year. Just depending if he really pitches well too, like how he did last season. JP France is another name that could that could be a trade piece, or he can come out swinging and doing really good. And we were talking about. I said David Weiss. It's Ryan Weiss. Sorry about that. Nate Pearson, Colin Gordon still on the board as well. So
So check
I
this out.
think. Go ahead.
I have two inquiries.
Okay.
If the Astros are done, I know you mentioned Miguel Oyoa because that was my follow up question.
Mhm.
Do you think you see Miguel Oyoa in the starting rotation for June?
Depending at where Houston's at with pitching, yes.
Okay.
But
I
if
get you.
Houston has everybody healthy, and let's say one or two starting pitchers are out, then I'd say I wouldn't see him still coming up. I think it has to be a plethora of pitchers
A plethora, yeah.
of being out of like how it was like last year with Ronel Blanco getting out quickly, Hayden Wesneski getting out.
Mhm.
Lance,
I can see that.
not Lance. Well, yeah, Lance McCullers too. Spencer Arrighetti got injured, so you had
Mhm.
a decent amount of guys of that rotation starting off that season already hitting the IL. That's
Mhm.
the same situation that would have to happen if Miguel Ulola gets brought up, or if he's just dominating like how Zach Cole was doing in the minors, hitting 500. Let's say Ulola's pitching 7 starts of only giving up 2 earned runs or less in those starts and having like a great amount of strikeouts. That's the only way I could see him coming up as well.
I can see that. So here's my next thing. Again, and this is just like plain scenarios, and they can say the Astros sign someone like Ranger Suarez. Either they bring back Framber Valdez, they sign Ranger Suarez, Zach Allen, one of those guys.
Uh-huh.
That's going to be 1, 2, maybe 2, 3, 4 in that rotation. And Lance McCullers doesn't want to be in the bullpen. They got to make room for that guy. Do you think they DFA Lance McCullers?
I don't think they DFA him. They're at best they're going to try to see what they can do. The first thing is obviously seeing if they can get if McCullers will take a bullpen role.
No, but I'm saying like he refuses to take a bullpen.
Okay, so yeah, if he doesn't take that, then Houston could potentially try to look at teams looking for starting pitching in a trade situation.
That's a big contract.
It is a big contract, but is there going to be a team out there? Because of course you see pitching at the trade deadline. You saw how pitching came upon. Like everything was a high asking price. Even really at the winter meetings too, everything was a high asking price.
If they would trade him, the Astros are going to have to pay, I would say, a huge
decent-
portion of that
yeah.
contract.
Some type of amount, just how like that Carlos Correa was with the Minnesota Twins contract. It's the same thing that's going to happen with Houston having to do the same thing with McCullers. But I'm not saying he's going to get traded.
Yeah, just a scenario. Yeah, just this scenario.
But like I was saying too, I think this is a good depth. This is good insurance Houston has in this rotation. They don't, and this is why I say I don't think they need to go sign or trade for another starting pitcher because they have enough right there. Unless they waive Jason Alexander, like I had mentioned, Colin Gordon could be in a trade as well. JP France could be in a trade as well. McCullers, I mean, the list goes on. So that's why, as of right now, I do not see Houston looking to get another starting pitcher. Of course, the last player in my mind for the Astros to go after as a starter was Justin Verlander, but I just do not see it after this signing of Tatsuya Imai or Imai. Still getting that wrong, probably.
Imai, yeah,
Imai, yeah, okay. So I just do not see it. They have enough starting pitching. You could potentially be right, Angel. If they do go get a starter, like you were saying, it Ranger Suarez. You also got to think about the CBT for Houston. They're not over it as of right now after signing Amai. And like I'm looking at an article right now. Coming, let me see.
Yeah, but they've been over before.
They've been over it before, but do you think Jim Crane and the Astros want to be over it?
Look at the teams that won the World Series. And
Correct, but
they're all over.
Jim Crane's not running the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's not running the Toronto Blue Jays. He is running the Houston Astros. The first CBT threshold for
you gotta spend money to make money.
Yeah, exactly. Is $244 million. MI's impact coming up was 18 million AAV wise, plus the Astros around 242 million. So it's just under the threshold.
But even if it goes over, think about how many. If they have a good team, even if they go over, bring starting pitchers, they're gonna sell tickets. They're gonna sell concessions. That's gonna pay itself.
I can see what your point is. I can see it. But I just do not see Houston trying to go over the CBT. I just do not see them trying to do that. What they are going to try to do, I'm going to tell you right here, is they're going to try to trade somebody.
Yeah.
They're going to try to trade, and there's two notable guys right now that names have been up in the infield specifically is Christian Walker and Isaac Paredes. If you want to say another player too, you have Jesus Sanchez out there as well.
Jesus Sanchez, okay. Isaac Paredes, Christian Walker, they're not going anywhere.
And I agree with that, but with an infield that they have, who and where is these players playing?
Then we talked about that.
Exactly, but just give me a refresher real quick.
Christian Walker, first base. Isaac Paredes, second base.
Second base.
Carlos, shortstop, Jeremy Pena. Carlos Correa, third. Jose Altuve. In left field, Cam Smith or Jesus Sanchez piggybacking in right field, and then you can possibly have. You still have Jake Myers. They still have what's that? I'm blanking on his name. You have
Zach Cole. You still got
Zach Cole that can play center field.
I just don't see Jose Altuve playing second left field. I just do not see it a lot. And then plus you got Yordan Alvarez. Of course, they said
it's BDH.
The Astros did mention that they do not want to play Yordan a lot in left field.
BDH.
But some guys are gonna need some breathers. He's gonna have to play left field. I personally I just don't see Jose Altuve playing left field still.
He just started last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't see it happening, but it happened.
So it's gonna happen again.
So you think he's gonna play? Yes. He's gonna play left field for the Houston. How many games then, if you want to estimate?
Jose Altuve?
Exactly.
I'll say 80 something. You're looking at half a season.
So you're looking half a season in left field for Jose Altuve,
or possibly more.
This is a good trivia question for people that want to
write it down. Yes, write it down.
I'm looking at it right now to see how many games he played in left field, and Jose Altuve played 47 games at left field and 66 games at second base. So,
say half the season he's in left field.
I agree with you on that, though. With the Astros shouldn't trade away Isaac Paredes nor Christian Walker. It's like it's difficult for them. It's difficult for them. It's difficult. It is a good problem to have. It's difficult for them though because if they trade Christian Walker, they're gonna have to try to train Isaac Paredes to play.
It's too much of a risk,
and it is a risk. It is. And if you do vice versa, your most powerful player to trade right now, not Jose Altuve, Jeremy Pena, Yordan Alvarez, Carlos Correa, is Isaac Paredes. And he's projected, if I'm not mistaken, from arbitration, he's supposed to be about $10 million. And I did like it was a while back that the Red Sox and Astros had interest among another. Houston was looking at two pitchers and actually have it right here. Their names are Payne Tolley and Conley Early. I want to say that's his name. Conley Early was that pitcher that pitched in Game 5 of that division game against the Yankees. It was the division, the wild card. I think it was a wild card. Payne Tolley too, left-handed pitcher. Those guys are still young, and what is Houston going to need is going to be pitching. Of course, they got a controllable starter with Burrows. You got Hunter Brown. If you can try to find a way to get some type of extension with him, then do it. But you still have him. Spencer Arrighetti still young. Christian Javier had that contract extension, but he can be coming off that coming soon. So that's what I'm saying. If you do that, you still got some guys like that. It's early and early. And I think that would be the most difficult part for Houston is to trade a guy like Paredes that has great plate discipline, who is a really good hitter at Daikin Park. So that's the only thing I would say for Houston is trying to figure out who to keep and who to trade, because as of right now, like you're saying, if they're going to get another starting pitcher, how are they going to do it? Because if they go sign somebody, they're going to be over the CBT. And that's my prediction. I think Houston is trying to stay under that CBT. They're at 242 right now. They want to be under 244.
Yeah, but we'll see. Again, like we said at the end of last season, busy off season, and this is just the beginning for the Astros, honestly.
Yeah, and it was crazy. I mean, it was a slow winter. It was just out of the blue that this signing had happened on January 1st of 2026, literally the first day of the new year. Real quick, Angel, we could discuss what's next. More likely, I had mentioned it in our last episode, backup catching is going to be, I would say, the number one thing after getting these starting pitchers, and then relief pitching, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
and I still firmly believe three guys that Houston can be going after in the backup market. First is going to be Victor Caratini. Second is going to be Christian Vasquez, and I would say even third being Jonah Heim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all good names.
I think Heim, though, is a guy that's probably looking for a starting job.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think he wants a backup role. Honestly, Caratini could be looking for a starting job too.
And Caratini too. He deserves it. He did really good with the opportunities that he got, and with his bat, he has a really good stick. We did talk about it when Houston did sign him in the winter meetings in Nashville. I think that was in 23, if I'm not mistaken. We talked about his bat. I mean, he has some contact, he has some pop, a really good backup role to kind of help Yainer Diaz. And sure enough, I mean, he did a really good job in them 2 years with Houston. Relief wise, Pete Fairbanks is off the table. There's some other guys that are still out there. I had said in our last episode, but yeah, they need a guy, a number, like a hold. You know, you have your guy that holds the game, you have a setup guy, and then you have your closer. They need somebody they need somebody in the seventh inning, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I got you.
Because Brian King did a really good, fabulous job. You know, Bennett Sousa did a really good job too. But they didn't really have that guy that can go 7, 8, 9 like how they did in 23 with Brian Abreu, Ryan Presley, and then Josh Hader.
Okay. So it'll be, again, interesting offseason to see what happens.
Yeah. So big day for the Houston Astros. They will be holding a press conference on January 5th, which is on a Monday at 1 p.m. Central Time here at Houston, Texas. It's going to be at Daikin Park. We will see if we will be there. Of course, our schedules are different compared to everybody else's in the media, but we are going to try to do our best to try to attend that press conference, because it's going to be really interesting to hear what Imai talks about, as well as some of the questions that the reporters have asked. Even sometimes we even ask questions too regarding on the new acquired player about their new team. So yeah, fun fact of the night, and this was a really good crowd for a Friday night. I know a lot of people are getting ready to hang out with fam or just go out. When Kikuchi signed with MLB, guess who took his place on the Cebu Lions roster? I did not know that, Angel.
Me neither.
Something you learn
Pretty
something
neat.
new every
Pretty
day.
neat. Yeah, pretty neat.
Something you learn new every day. But that is the end of our show. You have where you can find us on the podcast and on social media wise, TikTok Full Steam Ahead, as well as Twitter FSA Full Steam Ahead on Instagram. We still got our YouTube channel going. We're still growing that number up. Big month coming up for us getting some content. So like I mentioned last year in the last episode, that we're gonna try to get some content this upcoming new year in 2026. First month being the TriStar show, um as FanFest, getting to ask some of these players some questions, get you ready for the new slogan coming up for Houston, and then obviously spring training and the 2026 full season coming to a start. And where you can find us and listen to us regarding the audio side of our podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Like, rate, download, follow, subscribe. Hit us with that feedback. Hit us with some good numbers and some stars. I know some ratings give like stars, some ratings do different things. And give us some good feedback. Appreciate each and every one of you tonight. Angel, any last thoughts before we sign off?
No, just thank you for joining again on Friday night. I know people are getting, like you said, getting ready to go to walk to Midtown or go out to eat or something like that. So appreciate the listen and happy New Year to all of you. Happy New Year to Astro Craig as well, and appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, happy new year to everybody. Hopefully everybody has a great start to their new year. It started off good for everybody not having to work maybe on a Friday, or people did work on a Friday of this weekend. But get ready for this new year coming up. We're going to have a lot of stuff like I mentioned. Try to get some guests on here as well. Just seeing how our schedules act up. Like I mentioned, if we could get all three, that's good. If only two of us could come on, that's still good. If only one of us could come on, we're going to have somebody here at least to talk with each and every one of you um, coming up. So till then, y'all stay safe. We'll talk to y'all next week. We'll let everybody know, of course, on Twitter where when we're gonna record our next episode. It's gonna be next week. I just don't know what day, but keep an eye out. But stay blessed and have a great one.